St Anne's Limehouse by Hawksmoor. It's another one of the churches built for the confusingly named 50 Churches Act. Unlike St Paul's Deptford, where you just want to stand and stare, here you're transported. Boxed in by the A13 on one side and the DLR on the other, you can easily see it go by on your way to Canary Wharf. You can also see it as you escape later going the other way. Hawksmoor had a very confident hand. It's a handsome building, not pretty, and there's some fantastic detailing. Look at the rusticated coins on that. But look at these weird towers. So I'm here today with Philip Reddaway.
Yes. Okay, so I'm the chair of the charity Care for St Anne's.
Yep.
That's responsible for looking after the restoration of the church as we move towards the tercentenary in 2030. We have a huge project in hand to do that, to restore the infrastructure of the building, to clear the crypt, to create step-free access.
Are you going to be doing anything that's encroaching on the main church area?
This will mainly subject to a kind of cosmetic overhaul, really, with the exception of the pews that will go to allow.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, I better get a good shot of those then.
Because they are not, if you like, valued from an architectural point of view. They're actually quite a recent addition, and they're cheap pine rather than solid oak. If you've been to Southwark Cathedral and see the kind of flexible seating they have, I mean, in its heyday, this church seated 1,100 congregationists. The congregation today numbers about 100, but we could see ourselves having major music events here with 500 or 600 people, and we need a better arrangement of seating for an event like that.
If you look up, particularly for Hawksmoor Church, there's some bits where there's, I guess, some water ingress. Is that under control?
Yeah.
Is that going to be part of the fixing?
To be honest with you, that's actually quite a minor issue. It's just a gutter problem.
Yeah.
It's not So I'll tell you a bit of the history?
Yeah, please.
So Hawksmoor built this, one of the 6 Hawksmoor churches that were built with coal tax money raised by Queen Anne, built between 1712 1727, first consecrated 1730, hence we're moving towards 2030 tercentenary. And it was built on a greenfield site, so this was all open fields. It's quite extraordinary that he built such an enormous church. Some people refer to this as the Cathedral of the East End, simply because of its awesome size. But there was nothing here. I mean, there were docks and shipbuilding down on the Thames side, but if you look at the old maps, there's nothing. Sadly, the church burnt down Easter Friday 1850, and the entire roof of the building collapsed in. The window that preceded the clutterbuck was destroyed. Pretty well everything internally was destroyed, so it was rebuilt. So if you want to come up a little bit closer to the window. So after the fire, just a little bit more about what followed the fire. I mean, fortuitously, the church warden here of the day had taken out an insurance policy on the church literally weeks before the fire. Okay. Which
how convenient.
May sound to you a little dodgy, shall we say, but that's the fact. It was a £5,000 insurance policy, but it didn't cover the rebuild. The rebuild was £13,000, I believe, at the time. And if you know Narrow Street, Dunbar Wharf, is that familiar?
Yeah.
So Duncan Dunbar was one of the biggest shipbuilders of the early Victorian era. Most of his ships not being built here, but in fact in Glasgow, I think, and Tyneside, but he had offices here, and he was the chair of the fundraising committee of that day, and he was responsible for raising the balance that allowed the place to be rebuilt. And one of the things they put in place was the new window. So this was commissioned from an artist called Charles Clutterbuck, who had a studio in Stratford, just down the road. And his style was quite different from many of the other Victorian stained glass artists who worked in sort of neo-Gothic small mosaic pieces. His style was large panes of glass with this sort of painterly effect. It looks more like a painting in some ways than it does a traditional stained glass window, although because of all of the re-leading that's happened over the years, those big panes have been broken up rather more than it would have looked at the time.
Oh, okay. So they perhaps. I mean, I can see there's a few bits right across faces, and maybe that they wouldn't have been there. About.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's in a distressingly poor state, as you can see. It's 150 years of grime from church candles, and if you come closer, what you see is that the window is made up of horizontal panes. So these bars are really holding it in, but each of these is a pane, and each pane fits on top of the other into a ridge. So these bottom panes are holding the entire weight of the window. Hence the bowing,
some bowing, yes.
the bowing and the buckling. It's really struggling to hold.
It's very, very
hold
distinct, and I think
yeah.
I can see some clear daylight through. Yeah.
Exactly, and you can see some holes as well.
Yes.
And there are lots of cracks and so on. So it needs
a bit of love.
TLC in a big way, and it's about to get it. So the plan is to have it taken out this November. It will go for restoration, conservation, at a specialist studio in Yorkshire, Keith Barley Studios. That will probably take about 9 months. And in the meantime, we will put up a clear piece of glass with a transfer of this image. So from down there, if you looked up, it'll look as if the window's still there until it comes back in all its glory.
I see you've got some amazing plaster work.
So this is all part of the restoration. After the fire, the colour you see here, which I think is called Allah, is believed to be the original Hawksmoor colour. The blue and cream, again much discoloured, is actually 1930s. So when we come to do the full restoration, it will come back to this creamy Hawksmoor colour. So the organ was also a joyous addition to the church in the post-fire reconstruction. It won a prize at the Great Exhibition of 1852.
The Crystal Palace.
The Crystal Palace, yes. And it's rated by people who know about organs as one of the best. Can I show you the vestry?
Yeah, please.
Because that's quite fun. In the days when you could collect quite a serious donation from your 1,100 congregations on a Sunday, a very serious safe.
Wow. And then, I see we've got a map.
And in here, I'm not sure the date of these, but these are the Victorian tariffs here for weddings and funerals.
Okay. How much does the wedding set you back?
Ooh,
Can you make it out?
No, my eyesight's not quite good enough.
I'll take
it looked like shillings rather than pounds.
Yeah, yeah.
May I take you down to the crypt?
Yes, please do. Yeah.
So a major ticket item in our restoration will be the removal of the bodies that are still buried here. Right. So they started placing bodies in family tombs here in around the 1770s. Yeah. And that went on until the mid-Victorian era. So there's still about 100 bodies here in family tombs. They have to be removed and reinterred elsewhere. And there's a lot of hoops that you have to jump through in order for that to take place.
So how do you know where they are?
Here they are.
Okay.
Can you read it?
Erected in the memory of Norrison?
Norrison, yes. Yeah. So this would be the Norrison family vault.
Okay.
They're all bricked up. There's nothing to see. Nothing.
Yes.
Which people are usually quite pleased to know.
It's kind of what you'd expect. But
exactly. Yeah. There's another one there. Well, these beautiful Georgian doors. During World War II Blitz, so in late 1940, starting
this is almost
from
ground
August.
zero, isn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely. And elsewhere, people could shelter in tubes. no tubes in this area of London. So your options were the Anderson shelters that the Port of London Authority provided for dockers and people working in the docks, which was obviously a focal point for the Luftwaffe. But for families, where do they go? Churches. So they went to All Saints in Poplar, and they came here to St Anne's. And this is a bomb blast wall built in 1940 to give extra protection to people sheltering here in the crypt. Mind your head because it's low. And I think once you come through this side of the wall, you start to see why we need so much money. Because we want to clear all of this space and make this space available for all sorts of diverse community usage. These two are interesting, opposite each other, the Seaward brothers. They were important maritime engineers and designed some of the first of the transatlantic paddle boats, and they live right here on Newell Street next to the church, and they're both buried here. I just want to show you a couple of other things connected to the Blitz. So if you're caught short, sheltering, a whole suite of toilets, no plumbing, bucket system.
Nice and basic.
Very basic, but unlike in the tube stations, privacy. There you go, you have your own door. And here are the sick bays, so if you'd suffered an injury in a bomb blast or somewhere in the area, you would be taken here, and there were nurses around during the sheltering. Sick bay here as well.
What's the massive? Massive coffin.
That coffin is the altar.
Oh, it's the altar. Okay.
So this has always been a church associated with the Navy. It's the first landmark that sea captains would see as they were approaching the Port of London. If you had had a berth on board in the mid-Victorian period, then it was always, you need to come and register it here at St Anne's. And yes, we have the naval ensign flying from the tower. We have the right to fly that.
So, I mean, I think the original churchyard was cleared to be turned into a park. Is that right?
Yes. So in the, I think, 1870s, it was redesigned by interesting lady Fanny Wilkinson. She was the first female municipal gardener in London.
Okay.
And did a lot of wonderful parks all across London, but it was very much a male preserve, the whole kind of gardening, landscaping.
Yeah.
She was the first woman to break into that.
There's a pyramid in the...
Yes, a bit of a mystery.
Okay, good.
And lots of speculation. And Peter Ackroyd has wrote about it and so on. We think the answer's simpler, that pyramid was supposed to go on the east tower, and for some reason, maybe it didn't quite fit, or they had difficulties in manoeuvring it into place. It didn't happen. Or they simply ran out of money. We know they definitely had money issues. It was just beyond them at that stage to actually mount it, so they left it where it is. That's all I know.